Hey everybody, okay, this is Brian. I'm just going to be recording this here really quick. Just a heads up, at the end of today's episode, we will be doing a preview for next week's episode. For those of you who shut it off right after we get done with Quotes and Review System, it's going to be worth your while to stick around this time because we're doing a really big NETFLIX Roulette battle episode. And to see what movies we're watching and to see what you should be watching along with us, you're going to want to stick around. It should be a lot of fun. Thanks, and enjoy the show. Okay, so with that, hi and welcome to the Hype. I'm your host, as always, Ryan Dressel. With me, as always, is Ryan James.
Hello.
Jonathan Hardesty.
Hi.
Chewie Darso's here today.
Yes.
Wow!
And the momentum's
Just
gone.
Bring the intro to a screeching halt. Yeah.
I am here today. Yeah.
Well,
Maybe,
now we
maybe
know.
not.
And then we have special guest Jackie Link today.
Hey.
I did get your last name right?
Yeah.
I was asking Chewie
You
last night. She's like,
did.
I never asked. It's like,
A lot of people pronounce it Linky because the
Yeah.
at the end, it's very confusing. But it's
I just really couldn't remember.
it's just Link, like Zelda.
Okay.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Just wanted to make sure before.
I'm pretty sure it's like when I say like a doorknob, I always have to say knob. Otherwise I'll never remember how to spell it. So I always say Linky in my head.
That works.
It's all right.
I wish you would just start calling them knobs, though.
Knobs.
When I was younger I did before people had to go, no, you don't use the K. And
Stop
then I
saying
said
that.
silent letters are bullshit.
What, knob?
Oh, go knob.
I'm gonna go use my knife to cut off this knob.
Next to the Cool Whip.
Oh, now I have to leave that in.
Oh, shoot. Darn it, those jokes.
Okay, so we're going to start with where have you been doing? I'm going to avoid the elephant in the room because I'm sure Ryan will shit all over it.
Yep.
But I will say that I loved it, and I will talk about it when we actually get to that episode. But for my where have you been doing, I went and saw An Evening with Noel Fielding last night. If you don't know who Noel Fielding is, he's the guy from the Mighty Boosh. He was also an IT Crowd. He's in a whole bunch of stuff. It was a stand-up comedy sort of thing. Like the
It was
first half,
mixed media.
yeah, like the first half of stand-up comedy, and then there's like a big animation part, and then there are some songs, and there's kind of a play in
costumes
there,
and
lots of
dancing.
costume changes, and it was very, very absurdist British humor, and it tickled my funny bone quite well. It was really one of the funniest things I've done in a long time. Yeah, it was. It's only in a few more cities. It's playing tonight. If you can go back in time and re-listen to this episode and go, oh, I want to go. But yeah, it's playing tonight in LA, and then it's playing in a few more cities. But his tour is almost up, so this really does nothing for you unless you live in one of those specific cities, and there's still tickets available. But it was fantastic, and if he ever comes back, I highly recommend going to see him.
One of the side funny things about it was that there was a mom with her like 12-year-old daughter sitting next to us that was annoying the crap out of Brian the whole time.
She had to keep explaining the jokes to her daughter.
And then-
I don't get it.
And then they didn't come back for the second half of the show. I'm like, oh, so did you realize this isn't a good show for your 12-year-old daughter?
I mean, one of the first tyrants was about jizzing in your sandals and walking around in them. So
yeah.
it's like,
Moisture.
yeah,
Explain that to your daughter.
I don't get it.
For your health.
Good.
Awkward.
And you never will.
Because I don't.
That's it for me, though.
All right. Should I go now? You want to go?
Do you want me to go next?
Yeah, you should. I already
Okay.
kind of gave you a lead-in.
Yeah, you
thanks.
did.
All right, so like 500 million other people or whatever last weekend, I saw Batman versus Superman, The Dawn of the Snore. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. I was so disappointed.
I'm just kind of.
I can't
sigh
even talk
this whole
about
time.
it. Yeah, we all look,
But no, I liked
guys
it.
liked
I'm
it, but-
sighing at you.
because I'm alone in this. I'm so weird with my
I'm just
opinion.
reading something on my phone while you talk about it.
I'll tell you what, it made me want to go appreciate the source material again. So after I saw the movie, I went and read a bunch of graphic novels, including The Dark Knight Returns, which they pulled some imagery from. It's so fantastic. And on a recommendation, I actually picked up Daredevil Love and War. It's several decades old, but it's one of Frank Miller's early runs on Daredevil. And it's one graphic novel, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Is that when they introduced Elektra? Because I remember she was his character.
I'm not... No.
Was that the Man Without Fear? Was that the...
He's always been the man of the year. I
No,
don't remember what run that was though, but
Yeah.
this was before.
Okay.
I think this was the introduction to it, and Elektra was not in it. It's highly about Kingpin and Vanessa, and it's really good. The artwork, it almost looks like watercolor in like a
nice.
really
I like
cool
that.
style, and the Kingpin is just super stylized. Like he's huge. He fills every single frame he's in. It's really cool.
I'd like to read that.
I would like to read that too, actually.
Good.
And that actually leads
Success.
into mine.
Well, I don't want to.
That actually
Ryan
leads,
disagrees with me about Batman.
that actually leads perfectly
Pretty
into
much most of our friend base disagrees with us about Batman versus Superman.
I think that's good.
No, don't say that because that makes us sound like hipster douchebags.
No.
No,
I
you're
think
not. You're just people who can enjoy things.
We
today.
went to Noel Fielding last night, and if we could judge by the crowd, we might be hipster douchebags.
the worst thing that could have ever happened to BVS is that no one cared, right? So the fact that it's so polarizing means that there's something to it.
Yeah,
Just my 2 cents.
I always feel that way too.
Yeah. But your talk about the Daredevil comic leads into mine because I finished season 2 of Daredevil.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Ooh.
I
Yeah.
still haven't watched the last episode.
I won't spoil anything, but I really
I
liked
won't
it.
spoil anything, but when Daredevil dies, oh my
Yeah.
god.
And yeah, it was.
We know he's coming back.
It was a really consistent season. I was really pleased with that. And all the characters were done well, except for Elektra. I didn't care for anything of hers. Just
Seriously?
I thought she got
Are you
better.
being sarcastic?
No,
I
no.
thought
I
she
mean,
got better as
she got
season went
better,
on.
but then a lot of things done were typical. Like there was a lot like that. The finale, it was good, but it could have been better. Like
Sure.
Yes, don't say anything.
no. I won't.
So I have had this week off, and I've binge watched 11/22/63 on Hulu.
Oh, I saw you write about that on Facebook.
Oh, it's so good.
I haven't watched it. I thought about it. But
You need to watch it.
Yeah.
Do you know what it's about?
I read the Wikipedia, so I got a good idea.
So basically, James Franco, present day, has this friend that runs a cafe who has a portal that goes back to
Narnia?
Narnia.
If only.
1961.
From what I remember on the Wikipedia, it said that it goes to 1959, and then you have to wait 4 years to get to the Kennedy assassination. Do they keep that in the show?
The show I think is 61. I could be wrong,
Okay.
but I know it's before. It's like a couple years before the actual assassination, so you have time to like prepare
Yeah.
and
Buy stocks.
buy stocks. Well, actually,
Apple.
in the show, James Franco plays like bets on sports games and wins a bunch of money. It ends
That's
up
funny.
getting him into trouble.
Yeah.
Kind of like Back to the Future.
Okay. Awesome.
But the last episode, it's an 8-episode series, airs on Monday.
Oh, that means I
Okay.
can start watching that on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I just watched the last episode 7, and I was so upset that episode 8 wasn't available immediately for me to watch. I highly recommend it. It's really good.
All right, for my where have I been doing? I'm going to go back a few weeks, actually.
Come with us now on a journey through time and space.
I don't believe we mentioned this on a previous podcast where
I
Brian
have,
and...
but
Oh, you did?
yeah, but it's okay. 'Cause
Okay.
you haven't.
Well, I'm going to talk about how when we went to see The Witch, and how honestly I think that might end up being, depending on how good Conjuring 2 is, when we get to see that, how
Conjuring
good
2.
it might be the best horror film of the year.
It will be.
Um,
It definitely will be. I mean,
Yeah,
I
in
mean, I
the-
love
Mixed
The
things.
Conjuring, but the sequel, it's a sequel.
yeah,
a sequel.
it is a sequel, and because The Witch is so unassuming as a horror film, where it's not quite true horror, but it's more like it's very suspenseful, it's very gothic, and it's very mental, and it touches on so many like visceral emotions that everyone that sees it, I feel like, gets something different out of it. Whether or not you feel that it's super religious, or if it's just all like paranoia of living in a seclusion. And apparently Satanists in America love it, which is really funny as well. Jackie.
Oh, those Satanists.
And it's just, I can't really recommend it more because it is beautifully shot, beautifully acted, and it's so simple and contained, and then it just explodes within itself. It's great. Everyone should see it.
a
And
good
don't
sell.
watch the
It is.
trailer. I'm very
not watch the
disappointed that
trailer.
Jackie
I
watched the trailer.
Aw.
Because
I
it
watched the
shows
trailer.
so many snippets that it's going to ruin things.
Okay,
But-
I watched the trailer and I still have no idea what it's about.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's good. Don't watch it again.
Don't watch it again. Don't read anything. Just go because the
Don't-
reason I'm talking about it is because they just re-released it on April Fool's Day, which
Right.
is really weird.
That is weird.
But I
In
checked it.
666 screens across the country.
genius.
So
I'm
it's
on
in
board.
more screens.
Satanists
and
are all like, oh!
I'm hoping it's still in theaters when this podcast comes out because this movie deserves your money so that we can get more original horror films like this.
Okay, so we're going to get started in today's episode. I will run some of these numbers through. And in case you didn't realize when you clicked on the episode, we haven't really mentioned it yet. We're definitely not doing Whiplash today. I know I said last
There you
week
go.
that we were going to do Whiplash.
Yay.
But we have a very special guest coming on for that episode. So we pushed it back and we moved up the episode for today, which is in celebration of Everybody Wants Some coming out next week. And we're doing Dazed Confused, which we brought on Jackie because she's a huge fucking fan of.
Yeah.
Sweet, welcome. Explain the connection real quick if you haven't heard of the new one.
So if you have not heard what Everybody Wants Some is, Everybody Wants Some is basically so this one, Dazed Confused takes place in the 70s. Everybody Wants Some takes place in the 80s, and this one was high school. Everybody Wants Some is college, and it's made by the same filmmaker, writer, everything, and it's basically considered like the spiritual sequel to this. Whereas none of the characters are in it. It takes place in a different town, but it's supposed to be like this same sort of story, but now in college and a decade later. So that's why we're doing this one.
Mm-hmm.
So for the numbers, this thing cost, I believe, $6 million is what I was reading earlier, and then it made $8 million. So not great. Some of the backstory on that, which I think is really funny, is that apparently every young actor in Hollywood wanted to be in this movie. Like it was like the hot thing to be into,
and they were.
and they were. I mean, but like there's little
a lot
things
of them, yeah.
like
Only
Ben
two
Affleck.
of them got like the blast out careers though.
Yeah, I mean, but all of them throughout like the 90s worked.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Some of them have kind of fallen off now, but at least throughout the 90s they had a fucking career. Yeah, so in their opening weekend they made $900, which I think is kind of funny and sad at the same time.
Wow.
So like there's little things where like Ben Affleck was kind of a last minute decision. It was supposed to be Vince Vaughn, and that changed. And like there's so many of those
good
little
thing.
things throughout the entire movie where it's just like it was gonna go this way and then it didn't. Universal apparently was really, really mad at them for going R-rated. They wanted them to change it last minute, and it's like, well, no, there's 79 fucks in it, and they drink and drive the whole movie.
Yeah.
And they went, oh, okay, so it should be R. But now there's no tits in it. So, like, there's just there was no way for them to make the studio happy, which I think is really interesting. And then when it flopped, the studio's like, see, we know what we're doing.
I even after you told me that before, I even tried to think where they could put tits in it, and I'm like,
No, there are places.
There are
You can always
kinda.
put in tits.
There's
Just David
always
Lynch.
room
Oh,
for
yeah.
tits.
See, yeah.
but unless
Oh, yeah.
they're like you're
Stars
gonna do
is
like
like,
a,
yeah, we
one
know
of
about
them-
that.
maybe at the end when he's
Background at the
making out with the
party.
girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. When the girls are getting ready to go out for the night.
I'm gonna be honest. They
Yeah,
could have just
exactly.
reshot one close up and like cut it in anywhere in the movie.
Oh, boobs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just a cutaway.
Yeah.
But again, what I also something else to point out is that they would have been underage boobs.
In story, not
In
actress.
story.
Yeah, in story.
But still, that's gross.
Or is
I
it
mean-
awesome? Right?
I don't know.
No?
I mean, I guess
I've
the
seen
movie
John
Carrie
Hughes
got
movies,
around
so-
that.
It
Yeah.
could have been like a
you seen
senior
16
that
Candles?
just turned 18.
Right?
Yeah.
You know?
Right?
16 Candles has boobs in it?
Yes, it does. There's
Does
a girl.
it?
I don't remember.
Yes.
I've only
There's
seen
a
the movie
girl in
once.
a shower who like what's her name? The girl from
Molly
John Hughes.
Molly
Ringwald?
Yeah, Molly Ringwald like stares at her tits like, oh, I wish I had those.
Oh, yeah.
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 There's definite tits
Oh,
in
that's
that
a
movie.
plot point in that,
That
film.
hot popular.
And those are
girl.
like, oh, those are just recently developed. I wish I had those too.
Yeah.
Like that's even creepier.
Okay, so the review for today is going to come from Amazon because on Metacritic there is no negative reviews of this movie, which I think is interesting.
Very
For a
interesting.
giant
So you
flop.
had to go to Amazon.
So I had to go to Amazon.
Uh-oh. We are now in the Wild West of review systems.
I mean, it could be worse. It could be an IMDb review.
That,
Oh.
I don't go
Or a
there.
Reddit review.
All right, so this one comes from Red Leaf, which sounds like somebody who takes himself real serious. This is long, boring, and then just ended. I watched because people said it was good, but I didn't get it. It was just a bunch of high school kids getting hazed and then drunk, and there's no story at all. 1 out of 5.
Nice.
That guy's clearly not in high school.
Well, clearly
When you
not in high
watched it.
school, and
Yeah,
clearly,
exactly.
I mean, he did review exactly what happens in the movie,
Yeah.
and it just
Not
wasn't
wrong.
for him.
Yeah.
Right. He saw no character development, apparently.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll get into this in a second.
Yeah.
But first, we have to do a breakdown, which Jackie gets to do today. I'm sure she's very excited.
Oh, God.
The stipulation is, I'm starting this rule today. We've been talking about it for a while. If you don't get it done, I get to make fun of you, which has been always the rule. If you do get it done, you get to make fun of me.
Oh.
Oh, that's a new twist.
Just a random insult, whatever you want to say. Don't worry, I can take it. I only cry a little bit. All right, you ready?
Sure.
Here we go. Go.
All right, so Dazed and Confused. It's about a group of high school kids graduating. Well, not graduating, but 1976, the bicentennial year. A bunch of kids just going around, driving, drinking, smoking, hooking up. Good stuff. It's basically what it is.
I can't really argue with your
Yeah,
breakdown.
that's the basics of the movie.
I'll stop the timer there.
Nailed it.
I guess I'll go with nailed it. Yeah.
Yes?
There wasn't-
Question mark?
There was no like characters or anything in that.
Well,
but
I'm not gonna. I don't know. I don't
that's
want
true.
to
No,
spoil
you
it.
only, you
We're
only,
gonna
well,
spoil
we're gonna
the
spoil
shit
the
out of
shit
it.
out of
Well,
it.
I mean, I don't know.
That's what this is
No, you
for.
did
There's
fine.
so many characters to talk about in
There
30
are.
seconds, along
That's
with
true.
the review.
You can't do it.
You made the 30 seconds work for you.
I'll
so-
end on this. All right, all right, all right.
With the biggest
How you
perv in the
doing?
movie.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Well, let's start at my favorite part, Matthew McConaughey.
Well,
Yes.
no. If Jackie wants to make fun of me, she gets an insult to throw her away. Throw my way.
Hold on.
I'm still rolling.
I mean, I don't really hate you, so there's nothing that I could insult you about.
Fair enough. I'll take that.
Nothing
You
really.
could say like
The audiences
Not
want
really.
this.
I mean, if you're a dick and I hated you, I'd probably go a lot longer than just one insult.
Let's say he was. How would you do it?
Your beard is a beard.
that actually
Brian,
is
you
an
just
insult for a
got
bearded man. It's just a beard.
Okay. So are we ready to start breaking into this thing? You said you had somewhere you wanted to start specifically, right, Ryan?
Oh, I just said I love Matthew McConaughey.
Okay. Yeah, we can start with him.
He's the best character in the movie, just saying.
He,
Is he? I don't think he is. I think he's
I
actually
don't
one
think
of the
so
worst
either.
characters.
I think he's a
I think he's an amazing-
representation
yeah.
of the cool guy who never left town and thinks he's still cool.
Yeah.
Well, the kids think he's cool, but all the adults are like, ugh, just go away. You're such a disappointment.
That's exactly what he is. But he has so many iconic lines.
Oh no, his lines are great. But
It's
I mean, like as a
amazing.
character, like I like Jason London's character a lot. I like the I forget his name now, but the Mitch character, I like him a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I mean, I like Matthew McConaughey for being exactly what he is. He
Oh,
is
yeah.
a character in the greatest sense of the term, like character actor. You know, like he is the archetype that we all knew in high school, the creepy old dude who just never
Yeah.
left, and he nailed it.
Got held
Now-
back twice,
Yep.
you know?
So do we assume that he was a senior when these seniors were freshmen? Because that's kind of what I assumed.
It's hard to tell.
It seems like it.
Yeah, it seems like he was the one who would have been like paddling them when
It's
they were
like
freshmen.
Ben Affleck. We established has been a senior for 2 years, so he paddled the last generation too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just kind of assumed that Matthew McConaughey was like a senior. Like that's why they're all so friends.
He's like 4 years older
Didn't they
than
kind of
me.
mention that he was
3 or
22?
4.
I feel like I remember that.
Well, if they did, then that would be pretty spot on.
Because I know he buys alcohol, right, for them?
Yeah, but they all buy alcohol.
Yeah.
Well, they kind of show how the other people buy alcohol, you know?
Well, the one kid just walks in and lies.
That's what I mean. It's genius.
And then you see a pregnant lady smoking a cigarette, leaving with a bag of booze. And he's like, eat some greens once a day.
I liked looking at that old man character and looking at all their hairstyles and going like, the one person in this movie whose hairstyle is actually cool right now is the old guy at the counter. Like, I see that hairstyle in so many guys now.
Well, here's my real question of this movie. Is it really set in the 70s, or did they make a movie set in the 90s that they dressed up like the 70s? Because I felt super nostalgic for the 90s, and we actually kind of avoided this in our battle. Because we said it's kind of disqualified for being set in a different decade.
I don't know. It is very 70s, though, because
I didn't get that 90s vibe. I mean, I would have connected more to it. Like, I don't know, everything just felt of the 70s, and it was just like, okay.
just
It's like, it was like watching a period piece.
Then maybe possibly for me is what happened is because I was more of a child of the late 90s, and this came out in 93. So it's very potential that this movie influenced my entire social circle so much that then we kind of acted like these kids. Like, my high school was full of all this bullshit. Like,
I mean,
you know.
stoners act the same way no matter what decade they're in.
They're
really.
pretty timeless, actually.
But,
Totally
like,
agree.
Yeah, I went to
Listen
a
to
high
the same
school
music.
where the stoners were the jocks, and they paddled the freshmen, and you fucked
You
around. And
actually did that in your high school?
I mean, I didn't, but that's what was going on when I was
Really?
starting high school. Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that takes me out of this movie so much, because it's like Brian got mad at me last night about how much I appreciate this film. I appreciate everything it's about and the character development and everything, but on a high school level, I don't relate to it much because pretty much everything they're doing, other than just hanging out with their friends, I didn't do in high school. Like, no one beat up freshmen in my school. Like, none of this hazing was ever a thing. At least I wasn't involved with it.
Right. I wasn't either, but it definitely happened. And
I
just
was
like,
hazed. Oh boy, I was hazed.
there's the stories of like, this is what people did. They would drive around and get stoned and drunk and like,
yeah.
you know,
I
pick up their
didn't get
friends.
stoned or
and
drunk in high school.
I also didn't, but we drove around
Neither
all
did I,
night
but I
long.
hung out with
That's
all
what
the
we
stoners.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hung out with these people and saw exactly what was going on, and like even the same relationships between the teachers and students and the kid who can't decide if he's going to play football next year. Like all that stuff continued to ring true through the 90s for me.
No, I'm not sure if it's that this movie didn't take place in the 70s, because I mean clearly they meant it to. Whether or not it succeeded is, I think, I don't think it
The
really
lack
matters.
of technology really puts it in the 70s. There's,
Yeah, but in the 90s there wasn't that much technology.
There
Right,
was, but
that's
there
how I
was
feel
the
too.
internet.
Not a ton changed. Not really. I mean,
Pagers?
Yeah,
Yeah.
people had pagers.
Pagers?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they
they
could have
had-
had pagers.
there
but like
was-
it felt a lot like 1993. I'm not talking about 1999. You know,
Yeah.
when
No,
cell
but
phones
I
started
think
coming
that's
around
kind
and
of the point, though. I mean, like, it's just kind of like kids will be kids.
Yeah.
So whether they're wearing big puffy purple shirts and white pants, it doesn't matter. It's just they're still going to be doing the same thing.
Right.
Even today, they're probably still doing the same things. It's just now they're doing it while looking at their cell phones.
Yeah. I mean, do you think
That's
he
very true.
intended
No one
to
would
make
accidentally go
Yeah.
back
Very
to
true.
a house where the party was canceled because everyone would know within 2
Well,
minutes.
yeah.
Exactly.
But that'd be if there wasn't for the cell phones, they still would.
Yeah, that's
They'd
what.
still give it a shot. Like, so that's I think that's kind of more of a strength of the film is
No,
that it's kind of
I agree.
like Breakfast Club, where it's like
Yeah.
just because it's not the same decade, it's still entirely relatable for most people.
Yeah. Like I think the most 70s thing they had to do was line up for Aerosmith tickets.
Yeah.
Well, and everything's kind of got this 20-year cycle going on. In the 90s was all about the kind of the 70s and that feel until
That's
then
true.
it shifted
Yeah.
over to the aughts, and then now we're all about the 80s. And then it's just
Well,
kind of that
we've
20
graduated to the 90s.
Yeah, we're all
the
about
that.
90s has
Drive
been in
by
for
a high
about
school,
2
it's
years
the
now.
90s
It's the
again.
90s again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Back.
it makes sense that it's actually filmed. This is filmed in the 90s and representing the 70s. So it's kind of that's why you could probably relate to it in the 90s because there's an element of crossover between every 20 years that it seems to be where you connect on it.
I'm going to move a little bit more into just like the actual film itself because we're kind of touching on it a little bit before we move into characters and all the rest of it. The thing for me that I really like about this film, and feel free to jump in, I like that this movie, like it's portrayed, like it was advertised and sold as a comedy of like these group of teenagers have the wildest night and most memorable blah 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 blah. And I get that they had to advertise that because if they
Yeah.
advertised what it is, it would have flopped worse than it did. But it's really just a mundane evening. Like
Yeah.
it's really just a night. Like yeah, it's the night they graduate into being seniors or freshmen, but really when you look at it like just on the surface, it's really just a normal night. Like what are you guys doing tonight? No, nothing. We're just driving around.
Yeah, nothing too big happened.
No, and I think that's the main reason why it's as relatable as it is because it didn't have this. It's not like you're watching like this is a weird example, but like Project X, where it's like, oh yeah, they're throwing the wildest
yeah.
party of all time. It's not that. It's just.
I mean,
normal
it's
night.
kind of supposed to be, but it got canceled, which kind of actually, started the entire story of it. Was
Yeah.
the kid's dad stays home when the beer man shows up too soon.
That poor kid.
I know.
I love
Although
that scene.
they still let him go out.
Yeah, I don't really understand parenting in this. It's kind of like the Charlie Brown where wah, wah, they're
Yeah.
just there to be characters.
They're free range parents.
Okay,
If this was
That
set
wasn't
in New
invented
York
until
right,
yesterday.
but if they were in New York right now, all these parents would be arrested because they're not supervising their children.
Yeah.
this is why I feel like it's pretty true to the 70s. My dad.
I guess that was the huge difference too.
Yeah, my dad, he graduated high school in 74. He used to tell me stories all the time. He would do the same shit in this movie. Drive around hours on end, drink, smoke. He was a huge pothead. He got away with murder. Meanwhile,
Your dad killed a guy?
Exactly. Yeah.
Holy crap!
He got.
Are you admitting that?
I feel like in the 70s you could get away with a lot more than the 90s or even now.
Oh, they totally
When I
could.
was in high school,
Especially now.
I wasn't allowed to do anything, and I think that's because my dad knew that.
Oh, they did
what
terrible
kids do,
things.
you know?
Yeah.
Right.
He did it.
I got a story from my aunt who is so like you wouldn't believe that she'd ever do this sort of thing because now she's so right wing, Fox News, blah blah blah. But she told me this story once about how she was drinking and driving.
Oh,
Granted,
yeah.
she would have been a kid in the 60s, not the 70s. But the sheriff pulled her over and said, "All right, I'm going to follow you home." And then that's what he did. She was still drinking and driving, but he just followed her home to make sure she got there. Like, that's how they
amazing.
did it back then.
Exactly. Kids could get away with a lot more. I mean, you even see in the movie the freshman Mitch. He walks into the convenience store and just buys beer. He's like, "Son,
Genius.
are you 18?"
That's one of my
yeah,
favorite scenes in the
I
whole
just
fucking movie. Yeah.
graduated.
He just takes the exact speech that Matthew McConaughey just said and just
Looking
feeds
for
it to
the
the
same.
Exactly. Yeah, and it worked. It worked.
It's like the one time I actually liked that character too. It's,
Who, Mitch?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't like Mitch? Let's talk about Mitch.
Which
Yeah.
one's Mitch?
Mitch is like the freshman, like he's like
the one we were just talking
the
about.
long hair.
Yeah.
I feel for sure that the character in Waiting is just named Mitch to be the same name.
Yeah.
This guy. This is the
But see,
same
I
character.
can't decide
I love
if
that movie.
what I
Yeah,
don't
I
like
do
about
too.
him is that he's a twerp in the movie as part of the plot, or if it's an acting thing. Because there's a lot of tics that really turn me off. But that could be that
Are you
if
talking
anyone,
about the nose pinch when he gets angry?
Oh
the
my
nose
God.
pinch or the-
It's like Kristen Stewart when she's biting her lip.
anytime he did like this kind of like,
I
Yeah.
know.
I'm like,
You know what? Those are the things that make me think it was the 90s because that's like those little like ticks of these
Yeah.
kids are what like.
I wanted to
kinda give
hit
it
him
away.
with the paddle in the face every single time he did that.
Yeah,
And
if
I
you're
never.
not doing coke, stop touching your nose so much.
Maybe he was.
maybe.
But just that interaction when they're at the rec center with that other girl who was hazed, and he's just like, "Oh, Banyan is like, and I'm like, oh God, please just stop.
That
Turn away camera, thank God. Oh, somebody
Point
else.
was very overacted. I will
Yeah.
admit
Yeah,
that.
I mean, there's a couple scenes that were supremely overacted,
But then that scene in the gas station, the convenience store, is so good though.
Yeah.
By contrast, and it's like I forgot. Like I'd seen it before, but I forgot if he actually got away with it. And he just pulls it. He plays it cool, like when the moment comes and you have to play it cool.
Yeah.
he does, and it's like, oh, okay.
See, for me, I love Mitch's character. I mean, it takes me a while to actually love Mitch's character, but I love him at the end when he's finally at the party by the moon tower, and he's talking to the sophomore girl, and all the seniors call him over. He's like, "No, get over here now."
Yeah.
And like, so tell me, are you gonna be fucking that later? And he's like, and it just his response of just how do you know I already haven't? It's like he just goes from being the stupid twerp kid in the beginning of the movie to this cocky idiot at the end, and I love his arc so much where it feels like he went from being middle school to high schooler in one night.
You're
That's
talking.
just the booze
Great.
talking.
That's the plot
the
of the
moment he
movie.
sobers
It is.
up.
Oh yeah, the
Like,
whole
all the it's really the passing of the torch. We see the much older dude who's become a total burnout, and we think he's a total loser the entire movie. We see the seniors, one especially who's like a special loser, but the seniors like kind of fuck up and like kind of burn out at every point. They kind of fail. They get arrested. They get caught by the cops. They get busted by their fathers. They like
multiple guns pulled on them.
yeah, spit in the face of the coach. But then the freshmen, like, who kind of like take their beating at the very beginning, they then end up getting the girl or like talking the dude into giving him the liquor when it was the senior who fucked up the conversation at the beginning and couldn't trick his dad into getting the liquor. It's like kind of these parallels.
So that's kind of, I think that's why I like Mitch as much as I do, because it's kind of showing, if you look at it like the grand scheme of overthinking the movie, it's showing where these seniors started.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Mitch is clearly, I'm forgetting Jason London's character's name now. Pink, really?
Pink Floyd.
Okay. But it's really showing, I guess, I'd be guessing that's where his character was back when he was a freshman. So it's kind of a cool parallel, and I think that's why I like him as much, because I really like Jason London's character, and this is just the freshman version of him.
Yeah, you're right.
And Jason London, I have so mixed feelings towards his character because I totally understand his stance on not signing that piece of paper, on just the absurdity of it, of like, you're young, you're going to do stupid things, don't try to make me sign this piece of paper that you know I'm not going to listen to.
Right.
But then he also idealizes Matthew McConaughey's character and then leaves with him at the end of the movie. I'm like, oh, so everything that this coach is afraid of you doing, you actually are legitly doing. So
Yeah.
you are just a fuck up
It's
right
like they're
now.
fucking
Yeah,
up.
but that is the perfect 18-year-old frame of mind, though. It's
Yeah.
like, let me live my own life, man. I'm
Yeah.
an adult.
But
It's like-
he takes it to the extreme where he could just have his moral ground on not signing the piece of paper.
Which is what
and
the
then
rest
he
of
would have
them-
been great until he runs off Matthew McConaughey and probably ruins the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Well, they're just going to buy Aerosmith tickets. I mean,
Yeah.
That's
That's
ruining
The
his whole life.
symbol- but the symbolism of going with that
They're just going to
character
Wayne
for
stock,
me,
bro.
I'm like, that's just, to me, that's just him setting up his I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I think Linklater really nailed that. It's like every kind of transition is really hard, whatever you're going through.
Yeah. And that's again why I love this movie as much as I do, because this movie is all just it's just all about transition. And
Yeah.
It's just you're really just seeing them start the ball rolling of what would
Yeah.
be a year of them kind of coming in to their own, and it's kind of a cool idea just to get a glimpse of that one night.
And we all felt that way. We all felt that moment of like, oh my god, no longer 8th graders. Now we're the new kids in high school, but it's like we're starting over, but it's a whole new game.
Yep. And it's the same idea for the seniors, because now you're the ones who are fucking in charge.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you don't really see anybody else in between. You see one sophomore girl, and then you see the guy out of it. But other than that, it's mostly just freshmen and seniors.
Right.
The sophomores and juniors just really aren't present. Which I think it's
Just
fine.
like high school.
Yeah.
Well, can we talk about the hazing specifically? Like, how, I don't know if it was just because it was supposed to be a thing of its time with the 70s and how all the adults are okay with this. I mean, I know it's supposed to be like a rite of passage, but some spanking I'm perfectly fine with. I grew up as being spanked, so it doesn't bother me. But the level of ferocity these men, like sexualness that they get into it with it, about them beating these children and having them lean over things, I'm just like, good God, why are you so into that?
They're just pissed they're not getting laid.
It's only Ben Affleck, and they make it a point to bring that up in
Yeah.
the movie. That he's,
Cole Hauser a little bit.
yeah, but remember when the guy you like? What's his name? Pink. He
Jason
like
London, yeah.
when he goes to hit that kid who's already been beat a lot, he just like gives him a little tap. He's like, "Come on, bro, let me give you a ride home." Like
Yeah.
the whole movie was supposed to be about these cool seniors, and like we had Joy Lauren Adams' character who was like, you guys got this. I went through this, and you'll do it again when you're a senior. Now get on the ground.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like this hand holding and like.
I actually found that the most fascinating part was just the instant day-night switch. As soon as the hazing was done, it's like, okay, you're one of us. You're cool.
That's
And then,
exactly
like,
what it
let's
should
hang out.
be.
Let's hang out
and I
again.
think that's what the movie was trying to say. And then
Yeah.
there was a couple like dudes who were just fucking it up, like Ben Affleck and
Parker Posey.
and-
Yeah.
yeah.
Everyone
like-
else kind of understood that after the hazing's done, it's like, all right, now you're a high schooler. We're all friends now. That's kind of like the rite of passage, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have the dickheads who are just like, yeah, I get to beat up people all summer. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, fuck those guys.
It's like those are the dudes who go on to become cops and bus skateboarders their whole life.
Yeah.
Parker Posey goes on to be the housewife with like 4 kids and smokes a cigarette all day.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
I do love Parker Posey, though.
She's pretty.
That's not why.
That's all she, in this movie, she's just a bitch
Pretty.
who's pretty.
She's a bitch. I think that's why I like her.
She does it so well, and there's a comedy edge to it that I was like,
just watching her scream air raid is just like, I would have gone to watch that. It'd be funny.
yeah.
But as far as like here's a question for the table: whose hazing would you prefer?
I take the spanking.
I think
The men or the women, you mean?
yeah. If you had to go through one of them,
Oh, definitely the men. It's like just it's a moment of brute force, and it's a bruise that will heal. You can't
It's
cure
overcooked.
those
Yeah.
sociological scars in your brain
They're
for the
like-
rest of your life.
The hazing of the girls is so specifically dehumanizing
Yep.
to
Yeah.
a girl. Like, because the whole time they're hazing them, they're calling them prick teases, sluts,
Yeah.
whores. And then they force girls to propose to these much older men who just make
so
blowjobs
brutal.
at them when they're doing
Yeah.
it. It is incredible. It's sexual harassment the whole time.
That's why boys fuck things up and women are fucked up.
And then when
So
they're
classic
not
Louis C.K.
saying things to them, they're squirting them in the face with things, which is also kind of like ejaculation. And it's just like, blah.
Yep, that was no accident.
And then they take you through a car wash right after.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Get cleaned up. You're good.
ejaculation.
And you guys were surprised that I picked the boys?
I didn't think the girls' hazing was that bad.
I would not enjoy it.
But
It
then
depends
again,
on who's doing it. Are you getting
Yeah.
hazed by Parker Posey or Joey
Well-
Lauren Adams?
I mean, not Parker Posey, because she was a cunt and I would slap her in the face. But in my high school, we had hazing, you know, like the freshman cheerleaders, the popular types. And basically what they had to do was dress up like babies all day in school. Or like dress up as a cow or something embarrassing. And I feel like...
How's a cow embarrassing? Cows are awesome.
That's why you and I didn't get hazed.
had-
We're like, that's
I don't
fun.
understand.
the cow costume had a huge udder.
Of course
Okay.
it did.
All right.
Sweet. Cows, huge tits.
And then
Yeah,
people come
exactly.
and pull at your udders
Yeah,
all day.
they
It's
pull
hilarious.
pull your tits.
It's the only time I'll never have to ask for that.
That's right.
The closest thing I ever came to with hazing was because I worked in the theater program. I was a techie. And they kept threatening that they were going to duct tape us to a wall at some point, but it never actually happened.
Super boring.
That kind of sounds
Duct tape
like
is
fun.
expensive, yo.
I got a swirly when I was in my first play because all the seniors gave freshmen swirlies, but that was really it.
Oh.
They cleaned the toilet beforehand, so it was
Oh.
really nice. of them.
Yeah,
were
they're like
polite
the good
about it.
hazers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's-
I was never hazed, but
Yeah.
I felt like the hazing of the girls in Dazed and Confused and the hazing in my high school that I witnessed is like not as bad as the girls that I knew in real life that got hazed.
That's why I almost think this movie like brought back hazing a little bit for my generation, which is why I feel like it was so related to the 90s. You know what I mean? Like people saw this and were like, "Oh yeah, let's go get him.
Yeah.
We should do this.
You
We should
know
totally
what's-
bring this
You know
back."
what's fun? Hazing. Let's do this
Yeah.
again.
And then totally when I was a senior, it had gone away again because this
Yeah.
movie kind of culturally went away by the year 2000.
And there was lots of Dateline things about people hazing and dying.
Oh, Dateline
So-
ruined my childhood. That's a whole different podcast.
Have a seat.
You
Oh, no,
can
that's
have
not
one
that
person
show.
on the trampoline at a
Wait,
time.
never mind. I'm thinking of another show.
Yes, you are.
I don't know what you're referring to.
What is that show?
My childhood had none of that.
Okay.
That took me so long to figure out what you're talking
I
about.
don't know what's going on now.
The thing about catching predators.
Yeah, that's
and,
what I thought he was talking
Oh.
about when you guys said Dateline.
See, now I was just
Sorry, I
thinking-
can't take a seat. I've been hazed.
The hazing was so brutal.
and so good.
No, like Dateline made my mom drive into me like a fear of payphones because they put like AIDS needles in the change dispenser, like all sorts of Dateline specials about weird shit that's going on.
Oh gosh, that's what I even made that joke during watching this movie about Matthew McConaughey wanting to sleep with all the high schoolers. And I'm like, he could give you AIDS.
Haven't
It's
you guys seen
76.
Kids?
This is when AIDS was happening.
Was AIDS?
Yeah,
in the
AIDS
70s?
was a thing in the 70s, and then they didn't talk
Thought it was
about it
mostly
till the
in the
80s.
80s.
Well, that's when
Oh,
they didn't
okay.
talk about it. That's the
okay.
big like thing about AIDS and how the government wouldn't do anything about it until it was in the 80s, because then all the straight people were getting AIDS.
Oh, okay. So then he didn't have AIDS.
He might have had AIDS.
No, I'm just kidding.
If
He
he's
probably
sleeping-
had AIDS.
But he's so
I
attractive.
mean, he had AIDS in Dallas Buyers Club. So.
It's a prequel. He didn't have it yet.
His car was so sexy, though.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of sexy cars in there.
But he had shitty tires on it. Didn't you listen to Clint? Right? I want to talk about somebody else in this movie, or at least a different group. We're already talking about the cool kids. Let's talk about the nerds a little bit. The Anthony Rapp and Adam Goldberg, and I don't know her name because she didn't really get a career after
The
this.
redhead.
Whereas Anthony Rapp went on to win
The one that
multiple
is gonna get
Tonys and
AIDS
had
from
a
Matthew
huge
McConaughey.
career.
Wait, the
There's
redheaded
too
girl?
many people
Yeah,
in
because
here.
she
Oh, okay.
gives
I don't know
him
who
her
everybody
number.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, he's kind of cute.
He's gonna give you AIDS.
Why you're so obsessed with AIDS in this movie? They never once mentioned it.
AIDS.
Who's the nerdy red or blonde kid who goes
Anthony
on to
Rapp.
be in every movie?
Who went on to be in a lot of movies and win multiple Tony Awards.
And who's the stoner kid?
Adam Goldberg.
Okay.
Wait, the stoner kid, the one in the backseat of the nerd car?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Nerd
Adam
car.
Goldberg.
Cool.
Yeah. Who
Yeah.
was in Saving Private Ryan, and he was the Hebrew Hammer.
So basically, he had no idea going into this, but Linklater actually stayed true to life that the nerds get successful and
Yeah.
the jocks burn out.
Matthew McConaughey is
And the
very
dick goes on to be
successful.
Batman.
Yeah.
That's actually what I thought once it's closed. I was like, this is the prequel.
Yeah.
This is the lead up.
I failed high school.
I didn't get to paddle all
My
this.
parents are dead.
I didn't get to paddle all the freshmen. Justice was not served.
He moves to Gotham when this movie's over.
There's a lot of freshmen in Gotham. I'd probably go see that day one.
Anyhow, about the nerds.
Nerds.
I think as far as because I wasn't really one of the popular kids in high school. I hung out with some of them. I just kind of made my way around, but I was mostly a theater kid, which is why I was really drawn to like that nerd car, because those felt like the theater kids to me. And for me, one of my favorite moments in the entire movie is when Adam Goldberg finally thinks he can start a fight with one of the fighter dudes.
Yeah, that was so good.
It is such a great.
I loved his logic too.
Yeah, his logic is not flawed.
It actually is pretty spot on.
Yeah,
He just fails at it.
Yeah, it's just like I gotta get a good couple of punches, and they'll break up the fight, and it'll be like I could have won. And it's like if they don't do that, you're going to lose horribly.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have saved face. It's just the crying.
Yeah, don't let him see you
Don't
cry, man.
cry.
Don't let him see you cry.
If you start the fight, you can't be the one that cries.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if you lose, and oh boy, did he lose. Although see, he was right, he did get in one really good punch.
He got in a good punch.
Yeah, that one was great, and the opening was fantastic. The dumping the beer in the guy's head.
Oh yeah.
It's a classy move. Well, not classy, but you know what I mean.
He could have done it well. It could have turned out perfectly.
Yeah.
And then he could have been the one getting laid at the end of the movie. But no.
No. He just had. He could have just punched him and ran. That might have been better.
Whack.
He's on the ground.
And then run like a little bitch.
Yeah, it's better than crying.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's a hit and run.
it is one of those
Hit and
one of the greatest moments at the end of the film when they're all starting to put their like track down on how they're going to live their life the rest of the year / their life. And then he definitely is going to spend the rest of the year trying to prove that he's not a loser.
Oh yeah.
And that's probably what would drive him into being really successful in life later.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's an origin story right there.
Yeah.
Like a billionaire.
Like he loses his first big move, but that just gives him the power to make more big moves.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and like you said, he kind of had to. Like there was some, like even though he did cry and kind of undercut that. It would have been worse if he didn't make the move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if Ducky showed us how to do everything wrong in Pretty in Pink, Anthony Rapp did everything right in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he actually carried through and was like the noble gentleman the whole time, and was like sticking up for the freshman girl when Parker Posey was giving her shit.
Although I didn't really have this in my high school, but I still feel like it's weird. Seniors making out with freshmen seems a little off.
It happened, but it was weird.
It
happened
was
in my high
weird
school.
in that like it didn't seem realistic. I was like,
Oh no, it happened in my high school, but it was weird then too. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm sure it happened in my high school. I mean, but
Jealous.
but it's the amount of development between freshman and senior is kind of big.
I didn't
it's
hang out with
huge.
any
It is
freshmen
big. Yeah.
when I was a senior. I never hung out with any freshmen, so it would have been weird for me in general just to see them around.
well, in freshman, I mean, our freshman class was a bunch of dingbats when we were freshmen, so like, didn't make sense. Like, who would make out with any of us?
I couldn't have that separation since I
Well,
went to an alternative
bunch
high
of idiots.
school.
Yeah.
There was no instances of the senior girls, right, picking up freshman boys in this movie, because that's not how life happens.
No.
Just the sophomore, but that's not that far off.
No.
Yeah,
'Cause, I
no.
mean, they would have
that
been in
was a
middle school together
thing.
like the year before.
I knew that the senior girls picking up freshman boys, that was definitely a thing, because that's a power trip.
So that was
Yeah.
normal, but the other way
That's
around.
not really
was-
normal.
I
It's
went
just
to
a
my
thing that
freshman
happened.
homecoming dance with a senior girl, but that's because she was a friend of my
Our
sister's
school was
and
way
needed
too
a date.
small to
That's
have that
creepy.
like lady seniors picking up the dudes. Like we were too small. Like we had like a class of what 30,
Oh my
average
God.
of 30 for each grade.
yeah.
Yeah. So
I
we
had
didn't
like
get quite those
500.
complicated relationships going.
Definitely plenty of that in my high school, I guess.
Yeah.
I think the reason that senior men will pick up freshman girls is
They're
because
virgins.
That's a power trip too.
well,
I
maybe
mean, it's a power trip on both sides.
yeah,
no
but
matter
I
what.
also think that the guy had such a good time in high school. He wants to hold on to that little last piece.
oh, that's
you know?
absolutely
Yeah.
true.
And you
too.
can do it until you turn 18, and then it's a crime.
Yeah, and then it's a crime. But you know,
Not necessarily.
'cause-
Watch Transformers 4. They talk all about it. It's really
Oh,
weird.
that
They spend
movie
so
Romeo
much
and Juliet.
screen
Out.
time talking about it.
so much.
I mean, there were guys in my class when I was a senior that were dating freshman girls. I thought it was gross. I thought it was weird. But I couldn't say much because I was a senior girl dating a 30-year-old man. So, yeah.
And it
So
seemed
you
like-
were the crime.
Yeah, kind of.
I think it's okay for the viewer to watch this movie and think it's creepy. I think that's okay. That's what he was going for. It's not like we're supposed to watch it and go,
Creepy
oh, of
things
course
happen.
that's normal.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
everything about this movie, we're supposed to go, oh, should he be doing that? As adults, as kids, we were probably watching it and like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Like Matthew McConaughey's character again when he says that that line.
The line. From
All
the
of
movie?
his lines.
Yeah.
How them freshman girls look.
Yeah.
How's the crop of freshmen?
Yeah.
Oh, crop.
We'll save him. We gotta save him for the quotes
It's
because
lines
we're all
like-
gonna just go around the room quoting Matthew McConaughey.
No,
mine is
my
not
favorite
Matthew
quote's not
Really? All of mine are Matthew McConaughey.
His lines were quoted. His lines were quoted all the time.
I know.
Everyone I know
I mean,
who's watched it, so
I'm
I'm like,
wearing a shirt from him.
Oh my god!
Yes! I love it.
I mean, I like
For our-
saying that.
That's
on set.
amazing.
for our listeners, it's a shirt that says "All right, all right, all right."
Oh, they'll see a
They'll
picture.
see it in the photo.
They'll be in the photo.
yeah.
I love it. Where'd you
Except
get
for all those
that?
blind people who listen.
Now they know.
One of the online
Now they
stores.
Okay.
know.
I'm looking
no,
out for you guys.
My quote comes from Slater because Slater is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
How much of this movie do you guys think were they actually stoned? Because he has come out
Really?
and said that he was very adamant. If they're ever smoking on screen, it's tobacco.
Milo
Right.
was high the whole time.
But apparently, he said that he had a strict rule of no being stoned on set, and apparently all the actors went, "Yeah, we didn't follow that at all."
Mila's been on the cover of High Times, I think, more than most celebrities, so she was definitely high the whole time.
I know the guy who played Slater. You can tell the difference between when he's stoned and not stoned. Like it's very, very. His whole speech when I don't remember who's getting shotgun. I think it's the guy. I can never remember his name.
Never get shotgun.
Yeah, his whole speech about I'm giving you shotgun, man, but that's only because I'm staying here. He's so clearly just beyond
Yeah.
stoned.
Yeah.
But I like watching the movie and just going, I want to see when you're stoned and when you're not. It's kind of a fun little mini game of trying to pick out when they are. Because
I
the only
think-
one I know for sure who didn't was Jason London.
I think you can pick it out kind of easy
funny
when you
'cause he looks
see
stoned
it
all the
more
time.
than once, because I could tell more the second viewing with you.
Yeah.
It's when they're pretending to be high, but their actions are still kind of fast. But then when they're legitly high, they're a little bit slower in like this weird little slight slow motion way, and you can totally tell on a review like which time that they've slowed down and which one they're pretending.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to emulate that special little slowness you get when you're genuinely high. It's like an organic thing you can't really
Right.
do.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think about that when I was watching it, so I don't have much to add.
I
Yeah.
didn't think about that either.
Well,
Were you
on
guys
a
both
rewatch.
stoned while you were
Pay attention.
All right,
rewatching
we'll
it?
do.
Yeah.
I wasn't, but I was thinking about it. I was like, I should be high while I'm watching this.
No, I have to take notes.
Yeah.
Your notes are just little doodles, like
Yeah, exactly.
Damn, I should have smoked so much. I watched the wrong movie. Is there anything else people want to talk about? I mean, I feel like we're just kind of
Yeah.
like circling the drain on this thing, but
I do actually. What's the new movie gonna be called?
everybody wants some.
So, I want to talk about Everybody Wants Some and what I would like this movie to do the way that Dazed and Confused did. Like, I thought Dazed and Confused really captured the great transition between middle school and high school, and then the people who are kind of totally failing at transitioning out of high school. And I hope that they do the same in college, because in a totally different way. Like, you kind of stop the social worries and you start the real life worries in college. And some people nail it, and some people have been like raising their younger siblings their whole life, and they go to college and they cook and they can do their laundry and they can clean and they can keep their grades up and have a job. But then some people go to college and totally hit a brick wall where they just completely fall apart or become alcoholics. And then even after college, some people, like, I think the version of Matthew McConaughey's character in this is the person who never leaves the college, who just gets a teaching job at the college after they graduate
Right.
and never
Yeah.
do anything real. Like,
Adjunct. How do you say that word? Adjunct faculty?
exactly. No offense to my adjunct faculty friends, but
I have a couple of those too.
like
We all
there
do.
plenty of things that are
everybody got some.
totally unrelated
got
to Dazed and Confused. Yeah.
But no, I agree with you. I think that'd be kind of an interesting. I mean, because this movie does it, and the reason why, I mean, I love Richard Linklater. I know there's a lot to be said both for and against him. But the reason why I love this movie as much as I do is because it does all of those things. It tells all those things about high school
Yeah.
without being obvious about it. It doesn't ever do it on the nose. If you just want to watch this movie as a fun movie about really just about an everyday night with just kids hanging out, you get that. But if you want to look at like the more like the social implications of what they're talking about, it's definitely
If you
there.
want a like severe 3-act structure, no.
Right,
no,
which
but
is
he
no-
never
fine.
really does that.
I know that's what I mean. Like
Yeah.
if that's the sort of thing you need when watching a film, then
Right.
Linklater's is not
Go see
for you.
Superbad.
Yeah, or I mean, you can go watch School of Rock. He does it in that one.
Yeah.
I love that
Oh,
movie.
he did School of Rock.
Yeah. He did that one for money.
Everyone does.
For money.
Yeah, that one was.
And he did
There's a separation
really,
of art and commerce.
really good
Yeah.
job.
It was a great movie.
It was a fun movie.
It's
but
got
yeah.
a TV show now.
Yeah, it just does not
Yeah.
feel like a Richard Linklater movie, but that's fine.
It doesn't.
That shows that he's got range.
Yeah. And I don't remember who wrote that one, but that one was. It felt more like his writing style than it did his directing style. I don't remember the guy's name now. He's in the movie. He plays his roommate. Michael
right.
Wh-
Yeah.
Michael
Oh, I know
White,
who
I
you're
want to say
talking
his
about.
name is. I could be wrong. Doesn't matter.
But one thing we didn't really talk about Mila at all.
Well, what are you going to
Yeah,
say
there's
about
not
it?
much
She
to
was
talk.
sits in it the
so
whole time.
briefly
She was
in
hot
that.
girl. That
Did
was
she even
high.
have any lines?
She,
Like I don't
she
even
sang
remember
the
her
song
saying anything.
for like a moment.
Okay.
And
But
then
I
like
d-
her notable scene is where she stares at the lighter flame. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I
And they
just
put her on
love
every
that-
cover because she's hot. It's like, oh, yeah, we got a hot
Well,
model.
yeah,
And it's
she's
because
so
Mila
hot.
and Ben Affleck were the two that went through this movie and ended up having the best careers.
Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, and Matthew McConaughey, Ben Affleck, and Mila had
McConaughey
the
was
best,
never Batman.
That's true.
the best careers.
Don't
Like
get me
the rest of
started on
them
Ben
were all right, but
Do you- I mean,
And I think
wait, are you arguing that Mila Jovovich has the best career out of this?
she works. She has a movie that comes out every year. Whether or not you see it, she's very successful.
I
Probably
think
the
some
most
other
fun.
of the actors have done that too.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
she's
but-
still hot as fuck.
and I am going to
Yeah,
be the
that's-
first
if
in
that's
line to
success.
see Resident Evil 7.
Yep,
all right,
me too.
It's going to be fantastic.
Isn't it 6? I thought it was 6.
No, it's 7.
7.
Yeah, so if you can you be in 7 Resident Evils and call yourself a A-list actor?
Oh, we said nothing about A-list.
I never said A-list. I said successful.
Oh, career. Oh, okay.
Someone who's getting the most out of their career.
She's definitely done that.
Yeah.
I just want to say whoever casted this movie did a great job for Ben Affleck because I feel like
Yeah.
I really fucking hate him in real life and it just makes me hate him even
Aw,
more in the movie.
Don't say that. Why do you hate him in real life? What if you're
Do
going to
you know
with him?
anything about him?
Not other than he cheated
Have you not
on
seen-
He
Gardner.
cheated on his wife?
Have you not seen the gif of him holding the Superman puppy and like having his heart warmed? It
No.
warmed my heart. It's so great.
I still fucking
I
hate
do
him.
dislike the men
I
who,
hate
for some
him.
reason, sleep with their nannies because that's so.
And he
What?
was a dick in Mallrats as well.
Well, that was still a character.
Yeah.
And no, that's just him. That's just him.
That's
He's a fucking
he's that
asshole.
character.
He probably
Yeah.
thinks he's funny and he's a dick all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
I really enjoyed him as Batman.
I did too, because Batman should be a dick.
Exactly.
That's the
and
premise
that's what
of the
people
Lego
know.
movie.
That's what people know. They're like, hey, Ben Affleck's a dick. Let's
Yeah.
cast him as one.
Yeah.
I'm Batman.
Okay.
It's 6. It's Resident Evil 6. I'm counting Resident Evil movies on IMDb. I was right.
So you actually counted it.
All right, well, I want a 7th one. I don't want it to end.
Let's call it the final chapter, so it's going to be the last one.
No, it won't. Not if Friday the 13th is any clue.
That's a fair point.
It's gonna be like there's gonna be a 7th one called Rejuvenation or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. And
The
Resident
other-
Evil
she's gonna
7,
pass
it
the
was all
torch
a
to
dream.
herself. She's gonna pass the torch to herself.
Mila Jovovich will retire, but the other Mila will take up her reign. What's her last name? I forgot.
Mila Cyrus?
No, from that '70s show.
I'd watch the shit out
Yeah.
of
Oh, me
Which
too.
one?
Mila
Like-
Kunis.
like- There we go, Mila
Oh,
Kunis.
Mila Kunis. Yeah.
She'll take up the reins. She could do it.
As long as we have a Mila, we'll be fine.
There must always be one.
Okay, so I'm going to move this thing into quotes. 'cause
Yeah,
I
we're
think
really done now.
I think once we're talking about Resident Evil movies, we've moved on.
You mentioned we were circling the drain. I think that's when we actually went
Everyone's
in.
on their
Yeah.
phones.
Well, now I'm pulling up my
Because
I'm
our
like-
quotes are written on our
Oh.
phones.
I mean, mine is too.
My quote's not. I remember my quote.
Why would any of us take
I'm going to go
notes?
first.
Go
'cause
for it.
I want my quote, and if anyone takes it, I'll kill him. Granted, mine's not Matthew McConaughey, so I'm probably fine. So mine comes near the end of the film where they go to the party at the Moon Tower.
Ooh.
And, of course, I didn't save it in there. Hold on one second.
Should I go first?
You should go first.
Is
just
so
cut-
mine is
Just
Joey.
give yourself an intro so I can cut all my bullshit out.
All right, I'll go first. My quote is from Joey Lauren Adams, who I'm convinced has time traveled back from the 90s to be in this 70s based picture, to warn the children of their mistakes. Because at the end of the movie, she says, "You guys are the kings of this school. You get away with whatever you want. What are you bitching about?" She basically ruins the entire plot of the movie by telling them to shut the fuck up.
It's a good quote, though.
It is a really good quote.
She does kind of put them in a place. And
Yeah.
Jason London's been cheating on her the whole fucking movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, yeah.
That's why I don't like
I don't
him.
understand why she's not.
So that's why I like
around.
his character.
where
I don't
did
like
she
him.
Go?
I like his character.
As an actress?
No, as in the movie, like she's supposed to be part of their crew,
Oh.
but then she's hardly with them.
She had to do her makeup. I don't know.
I'll go with next.
I told you she was acting in 90s movies in the middle of this thing.
But I'll go with my quote because it's such a random moment in the film, but it's actually kind of my favorite moment with the redheaded guy. I don't remember his name. They got all the beer in the back of the car.
Cole Hauser is his name.
The one guy hands a beer to the girl and he's annoyed. And then the other guy, Ben Affleck, is just for some reason pissed about something. So then he throws the beer and he just looks at him, you just wasted another fucking beer. And he's so like serious about it. Like it's such a great little moment when they're not fucking around. And then he's like, this is a preview to when you get older and you're going to be a dad. And you're just like, stop fucking wasting the beer.
He's told to the dad who's like, who turned up the thermostat?
It's such a great little like moment. You're like, this is your future.
I found a lot of those. I love this movie because there's a lot of throwaway lines that are quotable.
Yeah. Speaking of which, here's mine. Mine comes because it feels like something that when I was a senior, I would have said to a freshman just to fuck with them. So mine comes from Slater. It's when they're climbing the moon tower.
Yeah.
And he goes, this place used to be off limits, man, because some drunk freshman fell off. He went right down the middle, smacking his head on every beam, man. I hear it doesn't hurt after the first couple, though. Autopsy said he had 1 beer. How many did you have?
That was great.
Then he goes, 4. And he goes, you're dead, man. You're so dead. Look at that blood stain right there.
I love that.
It was a really good part.
So
It
fucking
was.
great.
I actually have a Slater line as well.
Oh, really?
Yep, and it's
Go Slater.
well, it's the one that got me to be like, oh, yep, stoner type of thing that
Yeah.
he would say, and he's talking about George Washington.
Yep.
Oh my
Are you talking about the hip
I
lady?
know
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
Oh my God.
Behind every
Yes.
good man, there's a woman, and that woman was Martha Washington, man. And every day George would come home, and she'd have a big fat bowl waiting for him, man. And when he came in that door, man, she was a hip lady, man.
For
Man.
sure. I was talking about this movie influencing Waiting earlier. For sure, that scene in Half Baked with Jon Stewart is based right from that.
Oh, yeah.
You ever look at the back of a $20 bill on weed, man?
Well, and that's the thing is like, I knew people like that, and
Yeah.
they would go on those tirades. That's like, no, that's not right. But I'm enjoying this story way more than actual history.
And now they're
Fields
commenting
of-
about Trump on Facebook.
Fields, man, fields. Like,
Well, now we can just watch Drunk History to get
Oh,
that
yeah.
whenever we
Oh,
want.
drunk history. Well, before I get into my quote, I want to say I think this would be a really fun drinking game. Every time someone says man, you just drink. You take a sip of beer because if you do shots, you're going to get alcohol poisoning.
That'd be too expensive to do shots. You need like 12 bottles of whiskey.
All right. So
that's at least 2 cases of like the cheapest beer, 24 packs.
I feel like my quote's not as good as your guys's, but I'm going to say it anyways. So it's when Jason London, Mitch, and Matthew McConaughey are all driving around. They don't have a destination, obviously. Matthew McConaughey says to Mitch after just meeting him, "Say, man, you got a joint?" Mitch goes, "No, man, not on me." Matthew McConaughey says, "Well, it'd be a lot cooler if you did."
I'm so glad that was yours because that was my other one that I wrote down. And I was just going to jump in to do the impression at the end. Yeah. Nailed it.
Yeah. My other one was going to be the, so what are you going to do with your life?
Yeah.
I want to dance.
So random.
He's gonna be such a cool guy when he grows up. I want to hang out with Goldberg in this movie,
He'd be a cool dude.
and I'd play with his hair the whole time.
I think there's a reason he cut it off.
Yeah.
All right, so for the review system for today, it's going to be movies that take place in one day. So start and end, one day. I do have one
I
locked
have
and
to
loaded,
think
but it looks like
about
Ryan's
that.
about to
I have
die.
to
No,
think about
probably
this.
not The Purge. That was the first movie I thought of that happens in one day. I mean, Superbad. Does that count?
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's
one
a
day.
really similar
was
film, and I've
mine.
been thinking about it the whole time. So they're really similar, great coming of age stories about high school kids, and they're both properly set in the decade that they, were set in.
Okay.
That fell apart.
All right, cool. For research.
I'm going to go with American Graffiti,
Yeah, another good one.
which is clearly something this movie was loosely based on.
Mm-hmm.
Not entirely, but it's a bunch of teenagers who have nothing to do who drive around all night. They don't ever race Han Solo, but that's okay. But that's really what it is. I mean, it's just really, it's a group of teenagers that's incredibly relatable. It's a good snapshot of the decade that it's supposed to take place in, and it's a really well made film. It's still kind of shocking that he went on to Star Wars right after that, but it's like they don't really relate at all. But it's still a really cool movie that you can watch and relate to everybody. and it takes place in one day. And they didn't really know how to shoot at night, so it all kind of looks kind of shitty. This movie did not have that problem.
I got one.
Okay.
It kind of relates to this movie. Kids.
Oh yeah.
It's like a very more fucked up version
Yeah.
of Dazed and Confused, but it takes place in a day.
Yep.
You know?
That works. I like that you got one before the two people who were on like every week. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I can think of something.
Yeah, no, I like.
Empire Records.
Does Pineapple Express take place in one day?
No,
No.
multiple days.
Damn it. Okay.
They spend a night in a car.
Oh.
I'll do Adventures in Babysitting.
Okay. Because it has Anthony Rapp. Is that it?
Awesome.
Yes. There we go.
Brian, you made it easy. He had no connection.
Yeah.
Oh
But my connection, besides that one that I had planned, was that it has quirky characters, and yeah, reaching for straws.
Quirky characters. They talk about Thor.
Yeah. There's long hair in there.
By the way, I love Adventures in Babysitting.
Oh, yeah.
That was like my favorite movie when I was growing up.
I'll
Got
just
it?
go with The Breakfast Club then.
There you go.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah.
A movie that I did not see when I was in high school, that a lot of people attach themselves to and say they relate wholly to, and then I see it when I'm much older and go, I really appreciate it for what it is, and I totally understand why everyone loves it. But since, one, my experiences don't really line up with it quite as well, and I didn't see it when I was in that youth spectrum, I just don't have the attachment. But I totally respect everything about it and understand why it's a great film.
Great.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfecto.
So with that, we'll bring today's episode to a close. And now preview for next week. So next week we are doing a battle episode, which will be Netflix Roulette. Ryan came up with this idea as an idea that anybody who listens to our episode will now be able to watch these movies along with us. So we're going to spin now. I have to watch the rest of these this week. These guys will attempt to watch all of them. Okay, hi everybody. I have to interrupt the episode really quick right here. When we tried to do this online before with the when we were recording before, it failed horribly. So I decided to come home and re-record it and just basically tell everyone what they're getting after that. So here we go. First on the board will be Eric. Eric Steffens for next week. Very excited to have him on, and his video will be Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Good luck with that one, Eric. It's going to go great. I'm really excited for you. Chewie gets... Now this will be interesting. Stephen King's Children of the Corn. Moving along ever so quickly to John. John will get... Oh, he's going to hate this so much. John gets The Curse of Chucky. Oh, boy. That's going to be good. I'm so sorry that everybody has to watch these. Oh, God. Okay. Ryan will get, here we go, Love's Labor's Lost. Last but not least, I must go myself. Oh, boy. Let's see what I get. Cowboys versus Dinosaurs. Hooray! Oh, thank you, Netflix randomizers. These will be the movies to watch. That's all I can really say. Okay, so again, thank you very much for listening. Sorry for the random interruption to the episode. I will throw it right back to the end of the episode here in a second. But again, so if you are curious about watching next week, we'll throw up trailers or whatever we can. But in short, Eric Steffens coming on will be doing Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Chewie will be doing Children of the Corn. John, Curse of Chucky. Ryan, Love's Labor's Lost. And myself will be doing Cowboys versus Dinosaurs. All of these are available on Netflix if you feel like watching them, and you can find links on our Facebook page. All right, back to the show. Thanks for listening. Bye! And then next week you'll get to see which one is the best. Right?
Yep.
Right?
Or worst.
Or worst.
Least worst.
And remember,
least worst.
And remember, no matter who wins, we all lose.
Okay, so with that, thank you very much for Jackie Link for coming out.
Thank you so much.
Thanks as always to Chewie Darso,
thanks.
Jonathan Hardesty,
Yep.
Ryan James,
Uh-huh.
and I'm great. Bye.
Bye.